Hello, friends. So I know you have probably heard me say this before, but I will say it always. I love working with buyers, especially first time home buyers. They are so excited and they are so much fun to work with. But I do know that there is a lot of questions people have, especially those first time home buyers, of expectations of buying a house and how it works and all of those things. So I've put together a handy dandy little list of some questions that we hear a lot from first time home buyers. And I thought I'd address a few of them with you today and just run you through a little bit of the process. First of all, many times the biggest question we get asked is, how much can I afford? So our greatest advice is not just to work with a lender on how much you can afford. That is a huge thing, but also keep in mind affordability isn't just your house payment. It's also paying your HOA dues and not being house poor, not buying the biggest, hugest, maxing out your budget house that you can, because a lot of times what happens is you're spending your entire budget on paying just your house payment, and there's just not a lot left over to go out to dinner and to do all of these fun things. So when you're working with your lender, really step back and take a moment to say, if I pay this, can I still go do all of my fun things that I love to do, go out to concerts and go to dinner and enjoy time with friends and family? So just keep that in mind when we're talking affordability. So one of the other questions we get asked is, what is the difference between a pre-qualification letter and a pre-approval letter? And there's a big difference. So a pre-qualification letter is you as a buyer are providing some basic documentation to the lender and some basic application type stuff, questionnaires to the lender, and they're saying, based on what you have given us, you can afford this amount. Whereas a pre-approval is they have gone through the process of verifying all of your information, running you as a borrower through underwriting, and then giving that approval that, yes, we have verified all of this, and yes, this person can afford XYZ. And then all you have to do is find the house that you want, and that part becomes just the underwriting part, and you're only verifying the house, that it appraises, that it does all of those things like that. So it's just a much more in-depth look at you as a buyer. And a lot of times it will give you an advantage over somebody who has just done a pre-qualification letter. So what will be my closing cost and who pays what? So a lot of times your closing cost will include lender fees, title fees, escrow fees, inspections, appraisers, insurance, all of those kind of things are included in your overall closing cost. And a lot of times you do have to incur those closing costs on your own, but there are many times that we can offer programs such as a bond program, or the seller will offer seller concessions to help offset some of those expenses that are incurred as part of your closing cost. It's also working, just structuring that offer that makes the biggest advantage for you as a buyer. Am I buying in a flood zone or a hurricane wind zone? I'm going to just tell you right now, the entire state of Florida is in a flood zone. So if you're buying in the state of Florida, you are buying in a flood zone. However, there are more critical flood zones out there than just a 100-year or 500-year floodplain. So yes, you could always flood, but there are some areas like an AE zone and there's numbered zones that are more critical or more higher risk than others. And your real estate agent can guide you on each of those steps, that looking at a home in a flood zone and what that requires and what that expectation is. What are the HOA, condo fees, all of those kind of things. So if you are buying in an HOA, you as part of the contract, will receive the opportunity to review not only the budget, but the bylaws and the full workup of documents for that HOA. And it's really important that you take the time to read through all of those documents and make sure that you understand what you're getting into as far as the HOA expectations and requirements. And it's part of a contingency that if you are uncomfortable with any of those, that you are optioned out of the contract and you can walk away. What is my resale outlook? Okay, it's a little bit of a hard one in the fact that we cannot predict the future and predict resale. But my thought process is there is a buyer for every neighborhood and a buyer for every home out there. So when you are looking at a home, just keep in mind what you are looking for and what you don't like about that home. So a lot of times what you don't like about that home, another buyer is going to not like it as well. So if it's one of those things where, you really hate this funky layout of the home, it's going to be a problem for a potential buyer down the road as well. So it may affect your resale value. So just keep in mind when you're looking at homes that those weird things or those awkward things or those things that you don't like, your next buyer probably is not going to like that as well. Let's see, what contingencies should I include in my offer? So this is where a really great real estate agent comes into play. And you can talk with that real estate about all of your specific needs when it comes to contingencies. There are numerous contingencies, from appraisal contingencies, inspection contingencies, financing contingencies. There's contingencies on selling your home. There's a ton of different ones. And each of those contingencies should be considered for your individual needs to make sure that you are covered in the best possible way when you're purchasing a new home. Let's see, what are my top property taxes and how will they change in the state of Florida? Oy vey, we all know that property taxes in the state of Florida are a hot topic right now. And when you purchase your new home, your property is going to be reassessed at a new rate and a new assessment. So part of what Florida has done, and many of the counties have done, is they have gone and offered online a tax estimator for you on a specific property in a specific county. So if you are buying in Charlotte or DeSoto County, you can go to the property appraiser's office and look at their tax estimator. You can put in the specific house address, you can put in your potential purchase price, and you can estimate what those taxes are going to be. You can, I believe, also estimate if you're going to have homeowners or homestead exemption and a few other exemptions, and get a good idea of what those taxes will look like for you in the future. Let's see, what is the difference between an inspection and an appraisal? So the inspection itself is where you hire a contractor or home inspector, and they go through those homes and they look at anything that is a potential safety hazard. They look at anything that is a potential maintenance issue that needs to be addressed, and they give you an overall indication of the current condition of that home as well as they can see it. And then an appraisal is based on what is the third-party opinion of value on the home in its current condition. And sometimes we can, depending on the type of loan you are getting, we can have appraisers ask for appraisal repairs. They're not hugely common, but they do happen, and it's part of what we address in our contract when it comes to appraisal repairs request. We a lot of times will assign a specific value to that, and a lot of times those are safety issues that you probably are addressing anyway in your inspection period. And how long does a transaction typically take? Typically, right now, it's anywhere from 30 to 45 days from the beginning execution of the contract to the close of the contract. Now, some things will take a little bit longer and a little bit shorter, but on average, that is what we are seeing in the market right now. So if you have any other questions as a buyer that you would like answered, or you are looking to purchase a home, reach out. I'd love to talk to you.